The last thing I'll talk about here is this top menu. On the top menu, I've got File. In File, I can make a new scene, open a scene, or save a scene. I will go to Save Scene just to show it to you. In Save, there are a couple of things you need to be aware of. First is the location. Maya always wants to save to a default location. You can change this by clicking this blue arrow to go up, creating a new folder, or simply using the browser options to the side. We'll talk more about this default folder when you've got a little more experience under your belt. There's a good reason for it, but first you have to get to the point where you can understand that reason. The big thing that I want you to see in this window is that there are two types of files that Maya will save by default. It will save a Maya binary file and a Maya ASCII file. The binary file is a compressed file type. The ASCII is uncompressed data. ASCII files are a little bit larger than binary files, but they are much less likely to corrupt, so I strongly recommend that whenever you save a scene, you save it as Maya ASCII. It'll just make your files a little more stable. Okay, so remember, binary is the default. You are going to try as much as you can to save ASCII. The File menu will also let you import models from other programs and export. You can export specifically to Unity or Unreal. And in import and export, you can also save different file types like OBJ, FBX, or STL, depending on if you're outputting to a 3D sculpting or printing program, or you know you're going to go to a game engine. The Edit menu lets you undo and redo. It's also got cut, copy, and paste features, which we are never going to use, and we'll talk about that when it becomes relevant to us. But there's this duplicate feature that does a much better job than cut, copy, and paste, so we'll always be duplicating. This also has some organizational options like grouping and parenting, which again we'll talk to when they become relevant. Create lets you make new things. So I've always been making polygons, and I'm always going to make polygons for this class. You'll see that there are other things that I can make. There are curves, there are cameras, there are lights, and then there are weird things like free image plane, locator, measure tools. These will all be useful, but they're more advanced features. Select is a menu that I rarely use, but it will let you do things like select all by type. So if I wanted to select all of my polygon geometry, I could click this, and that would select all of my polygons. So it's there when you need it, and it's to help you select things. Modify will allow you to modify objects. So it will help me do things like move a pivot point if my pivot point is out of place, or search and replace names if I've forgotten to name all of my things. You can also convert between different types, so if you've made a bunch of NURBs and you want them to become polygons, you can do that. But mostly if I'm in the Modify menu, it's probably either to search and replace names or to center my pivots. Display has some fun things that it'll let you do. For example, it's got this heads-up display. So I've mentioned a couple of times that there are camera names that help you identify what the different cameras are. Let me tell you, if you have a friend who uses Maya and you want to play a practical joke on them, just uncheck that. And look, the camera names are gone. Now how do I know which viewport is which? Yeah, that's a great practical joke for you to play on people. People love that kind of thing. It is actually useful. There are times when I do want to turn my camera names off, so I like it, but it's also a good way for me to help you remember that there's this heads-up display that lets you control what you see in the viewports. There are other useful things there, like poly count, and we'll talk about poly count when we need to, but it shows you the number of vertices that you have on the screen at any given time. It does take up a lot of screen space, so it's good to know how to take it and turn it off. The other thing that's in here, you may have noticed right under camera names, there's this thing that says caps lock, and you're probably wondering, why do I want that? If I have caps lock on, see, I get this warning that says, hey, caps lock is on. Caps lock is just like holding down the shift key, so anytime I'm moving between tools, I'm probably going to be setting a keyframe, and it's really good for me to know that, so keep your caps lock warning on. After display, I have the Windows menu, and the Windows menu will open things in new windows, which I know sounds self-explanatory, but kind of isn't. So just as an example, if I come down here to Settings and Preferences, I can edit Maya's preferences, and that opens up in a new window. So anything that's going to open up in a new window happens here. While I'm in the Preferences, and again that's Windows, Settings and Preferences, we're going to talk about one thing that you're going to want to change on your computer. In the Preferences, what Maya's got is it's got a lot of categories down this side of the window, and then in this section it's got all of the options for that category. So one of the categories is undo, and you know, I've said a couple of times that everything in Maya is customizable. The way that you undo is customizable. Now first, again, if you want to play a really great practical joke on somebody, open up their Maya, go to the Settings and Preferences window, go to Undo, and just turn it off. And then press Save, and then they won't be able to undo anymore, and they will be so mad. Which, if you like making people mad, is really funny. Yeah, I'm not going to do that to myself. I don't want to make myself mad. That would be terrible. I don't really want to make other people mad either. I just want to point this out to you. With Undo, Undo generates a queue of data, and generally the default is to have a finite queue with 50 undo steps. And 50 undo steps is not a lot of steps when you consider that in Maya, if I deselect, reselect, deselect, select, each one of those selections is considered to be a step in the undo queue. So as I hit Control Z, there's my deselect, select, deselect, select, deselect, and that's the last command I ran. So if you have a finite queue, you tend to run through it pretty quickly. I generally recommend that everyone work with an infinite undo queue, so you can just keep undoing until you started the program. It's a really simple change to make. You just come in, you go to your undo options, and you just move that over to infinite, and then you'll have as many undos as you want. It's set to finite because the undo queue does take up a little bit of memory. If we were doing things like dynamic simulation, we would want the undo queue to be rather minimal so that the computer has more memory for its simulations. But we're not doing anything fancy. We're going to be modeling set your undo queue to infinite and just say save and leave it that way forever. So again, Windows, Settings and Preferences, Preferences, Undo, On, Infinite, Save. After that, all of the menus up here are specific to modeling. So the last thing I'm going to point out is that there is a workspace option up here. It's set to Maya Classic. This is the classic Maya interface. There are also these things like the Modeling Expert interface. And look, in the Modeling Expert interface, all of those other windows are gone. It's beautiful. This is everything that I need to model and nothing that I don't. This is not an interface for beginners. It assumes that you are very comfortable with Maya navigation and with the hotbox. But when you feel comfortable with Maya and you're ready, you can switch over to this Maya Expert workspace and you can get in so close to your models, and look how beautiful that is. And when I switch back to Maya Classic, you'll be like, oh, look how tiny that is. It's so pathetic. So you can switch your workspace around. There's also a modeling standard which is similar to Classic. All it does is close these bottom menus down here, and they are reasonably irrelevant for modeling. So if you feel like you're too advanced for Maya Classic, you can try Modeling Standard, and when that becomes too busy, you can switch up to Modeling Expert. In my other classes, we'll be using things like the rigging menu set or the animation menu set, and you can start to see how having a 2-view or a 4-view, these icons over here, would be helpful for you. But for the moment, I'm going to leave this set to Maya Classic because most of you will have yours set to Maya Classic. And just remember the workspaces are up here. This final icon is a lock button, and here's what the lock button is for. I'm going to open the Tool Settings window. With the Tool Settings window open, I can drag it around and I can dock it places. So I'm hovering it over the side of the screen here. You see this thick blue line. When I let go, the tool menu docks. I can undock it by dragging it around, pulling it back out. Now, I don't really want to lock my Tool Settings window here because it just takes up too much screen space for me. That's really annoying. I don't like it. But there are times when Maya just kind of wants to dock things, and it gets really irritating. So this lock icon up along the main menu bar will prevent docking. So if I click it and I lock it, now I can no longer dock this menu here. If I click it again to unlock it, now I can dock again, and if I've lost my mind and I really like having this menu here, I can just hit that lock button again, and now I can never undock it because everything is locked. Let's undo that. Lock that again. Close that there. Okay. So that was the shelf, the status line, and the top menus. Those are pretty important for the interface. In my next and final video, I will talk about all of these bottom menus down here and why you may or may not want to have them open. So, I'll see you soon for that.